Hey, welcome back to the Big Ranch Show. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to talk about Donald Trump. Not one of my favorite topics to talk about because he's a terrible person. But he has said some stuff over this last week, some stuff has come out over the last week that clearly lay bare the fact that he is in mental decline. Most of which comes from a speech he gave to some executives and CEOs in the tech sector and financial sector when he was in Washington. And he basically had these people, these 80 CEOs, a majority of them walked out because he was completely incoherent, just meandering and couldn't hold a thought for more than a few seconds. It's proof that Donald Trump has a cognitive problem. And I'm not saying this to berate the man or laugh at the man. I'm saying the man needs help. And I think he has too many yes men around him for anyone to point out, hey, you've got a problem. We need to get you checked out. This is not a man that should have the nuclear codes and run a nation of 320 million plus people. Now, Joe Biden's no, spring chicken either. He's not some great guy either, right, when it comes to his mental acuity at this point. He stutters a little more, sure, but you know what? He doesn't seem like a threat to the country. He can still put together an entire sentence. Now, Joe Biden, on the other, Joe Biden, for example, has had a lifetime of dealing with stuttering. And I think that's coming up a little bit more now than it was before. Right? So Joe Biden's not perfect either. But he is coherent in most of his speeches. Even if I'm sitting there looking at him going, what the hell are you talking about? Right? But Donald Trump, it doesn't just stop at the CEOs walking out and saying that he was basically, incoherent. He also recently gave a speech at one of his rallies talking about shark attacks, electric boats, and getting electrocuted. He literally sat there on stage telling the story about these hypotheticals about an electric boat sinking. And don't you get electrocuted by that, he says? And then he throws in, what if there's a shark so many feet away? Now, here's the thing. I think if your boat is sinking, I think you've already got a problem with that shark that's just a few feet away from you. As well, it's a battery. When it shorts out, you're probably not going to be getting electrocuted. But two, electric boats do exist, and their batteries are generally very well insulated from the water so they don't get wet. But if they do, I'm sure from what I've read, they're not going to electrocute you. But like I said, you're going to have bigger problems if your boat is sinking. Believe it or not, folks, all types of boats can sink. He also asked, well, won't the boat sink because of its weight, the weight of the battery? Don't you think the people that have made these boats would know exactly how they float? And exactly the weight they have to be able, or they can have on them for them to not float? Don't you think these people know this stuff? You wouldn't think somebody would start selling a boat that just sinks under its own weight. I don't think you could bring that to market. That'd be ridiculous, right? And so it's clear to me that Donald Trump has problems. It's clear to me that Donald Trump's mental acuity is suffering right now. And I don't think he is fit to run for president. I don't think he's fit to be president. And honestly, somebody within his circle needs to stand up and tell the man he needs help. Because clearly, he's got too many yes men telling him he's perfectly fine and everything's great. The man has lost his mind. Anyways, this has been the Big Ranch Show. I'll see you down the road. Thank you for joining me.